All right, it is the third week of May. MetaMentors back with our crypto rewind and forecast. We've got 5 hot stories for you. We're going to run through these, keep these videos short so you can get educated and not waste any time, but have a little fun with us. So, first one, Bitcoin, the very first Bitcoin purchase, Pepe coin, which has been getting all the attention, just another hot meme coin. Assassin's Creed joins the NFT brand. They're getting serious. And I'm going to talk about $3.4 million of Bitcoin that was stolen on the Silk Road. I'm going to catch up with the hacker who stole it. He just got sentenced, and it's pretty funny. And then we've got Ethereum's decreasing supply, and the APR is now above 8% on some of the protocols. So huge returns with the Ethereum. Third week of May, MetaMentors. Here we go.
I assume the people who got their Bitcoin stolen don't think it's as funny as you did.
It was the Silk Road creator who got his Bitcoin stolen.
Oh, interesting.
So or at least that's how the article reports it is. Because they didn't quite know what to do with it. They were like, well, he stole the Bitcoin, but he was just stealing it from a guy that was stealing anyway. So
stealing
how
Bitcoin,
do we rate that?
So, right. Interesting. I'm excited to hear about that one. Let's get started with the very first ever Bitcoin purchase. As far as we have always reported on this channel, and as far as I've always known, it was the first public purchase was the pizza, Bitcoin Pizza Day, the 10,000 Bitcoins for 2 pizzas. Well, people did some digging on Reddit, and it turns out 4 months before that, they found a post where this guy was offering a JPEG Windows wallpaper for 500 Bitcoins. And they looked at his address and they saw that he actually got 2 deposits of 500 Bitcoin. So they think that this is now the very first time that they used Bitcoins for real world purchases. Now, there's a little bit of controversy because it wasn't a direct sale. It wasn't as widely known. And he replied afterwards to this a couple weeks after and said, "Thanks, guys, for the donations." So somebody's saying that they may not have bought the picture, but they did send him some Bitcoin. So they don't know who this guy is. I mean, they've got all of his name and everything, but they're trying to figure out who he is. He used a screen name. So if this guy would come forward, he could, shed some light on this potentially momentous event in Bitcoin history.
The OG Bitcoin retailer.
Yeah, because it precedes the Bitcoin Pizza Day by almost 4 full months. So
I was wondering where you were going with this story when you told me this is what you're doing. I was like, well, I think we've talked about it. Okay, I'll trust you.
Right,
but
right,
yeah,
and that's what's exciting is January 24th, 2010, which is so 4 months before Laszlo Hines, however you say that last name, bought the Bitcoin or bought the pizza with Bitcoin. This other guy was just trying to sell a JPEG, for 500 Bitcoin, which at the time was worth about $1. So it gained a lot of popularity right now because of the Bitcoin ordinals and people saying that they didn't want JPEGs and pictures and videos tied into the Bitcoin network. And they're saying that potentially the very first purchase was a JPEG with Bitcoin. So
how iconic how iconic will that be if the very first purchase was a JPEG, which is what NFTs get called all the time? Like it's coming full circle. Bitcoin was in the game from the very beginning, even with the NFTs before anybody knew what a JPEG NFT was.
Yep. So that's pretty interesting. And I'm sure we'll hear more about that. That all has popped up within the last week. So just towards the end of our little break here. So I'm sure we'll hear more about this, and hopefully they can find that guy, because if they could, man, he would, there's not many people from that era that have firsthand information about, and in fact, this, the article goes on to talk about how Satoshi Nakamoto actually was helping them facilitate, like he actually was still in the Reddit chat rooms and talking and trying to help them, facilitate how to transfer the tokens. So,
Yeah, that's how
that,
new it was. Yeah.
yeah, that's how fresh it was. Nakamoto hadn't yet disappeared. So
Do you think it was like one of those deals where he's like, yeah, all you have to do is get the other person's address and just put it in this box and send it?
it
Wait,
was probably
you're
he
saying
probably
it's that easy? Like all I have to do is like put it in it, and he's like, yeah, that's how I made
no,
it.
he was probably like, just give me your 12-word seed phrase. And I'll oh wait, that only happens to Ryan. But
Yeah, that only happened to me.
all right. So yeah, that's what I got. The very first one might not be the pizzas, it might be a JPEG wallpaper. So
Cool. All right, Ben. Remember a couple episodes ago when we were talking about the Silk Road hacker and how the federal government was the second, either first or second largest holder of Bitcoins because they had crashed that Silk Road in 2013, which was just the Silk Road is just a black market on the internet. You may have heard of it. They were doing all sorts of illicit drugs and stuff. That's really what kind of gave cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. When you hear people talk about, oh, it's only used for laundering money and drug deals and stuff like that, that's where all that kind of came about because it was being used at that time. Well, a couple episodes ago, if you remember, we covered a guy who had stolen a bunch of Bitcoin from the Silk Road, and then he got busted, and they found it under his bed in a hole in the floor within a tin can, hence the Cheeto tin can. Well, he just got sentenced, and you can see up here he only got a year in prison for stealing the $3.4 billion. It wasn't worth 3.4 then, but now today's values, that's what it's worth. So it's an interesting case and some interesting or good to know facts came out of this article as I was reading it, but he just got sentenced. So here we go. Zong, who's 32 years old, sentenced to a year in prison last month for the hack that he took almost 11 years ago from the Silk Road. He stole it from Albright, which is the criminal who created the Silk Road and got sentenced to prison. And so Albright here himself serving 2 life sentences plus 40 years. So that guy, he's locked up for a long time. But here is Zong right here with a couple of his female friends. And he stole. So when they caught up with Zong and took possession, the federal government, the marshals took possession of the Bitcoin, it was worth about $3.4 billion. It talks about and this was, sometimes you don't think about this stuff, but you hear the numbers trillion, billion thrown around so much you forget, but it gives you an idea of what would $3.4 billion actually buy you. Well, it would buy you the Khalifa World Tower, which is the largest one in the world at $1.5 billion.
the Burj Khalifa.
The Burj Khalifa. You could buy a Leonardo da Vinci painting, the most expensive one ever painted for 450, and you'd still have over $1 billion left to buy a sports team or yachts or a fleet of jets. That's how much $3.4 billion will buy you. So not to be underestimated. And that's what this thief, just Zong, there we go, had when they busted him. The marshals busted him, and they busted him in Gainesville, Georgia. Here we go. Zong can also be said to have been something of a party animal, using cocaine on weekends and bragging about being drunk while keeping an eye on the market. So like to do some blow and get drunk and gamble on the market. He stole roughly around 50,000 BTC, and also because he had that much BTC, he was a recipient of some of the Bitcoin Cash that they airdropped, and he was able to buy another 3,500 BTC there. When the feds actually caught up to him, they collected 50,591 Bitcoin. So that's where that 3.4 billion came from. That's short about 2,900 Bitcoin. So they're assuming that's what he was basically living off of for the last 10 years. It kind of goes into some of the Silk Road and some of the breakdown of it. One of the interesting facts is, I guess through this process of the Silk Road deal, one of the lead DEA agents actually got busted stealing some of that currency. And so this includes the exchange freeze BTC accounts in order to withdraw the coins for himself. They're talking about the DEA agent, Mr. Agent Karl Mark. So he stole some of the coins himself. as well as faking the death of the site administrator, Curtis Green, whom he had actually arrested in order to um, collect money from DPR, which is Albright. It's code name for Albright, the guy that created the silk currency. So he arrested a guy, then told the guy who was paying the ransom, who's also the founder of this illegal back road, Silk Road, to collect BTC ransom from him. This is a DE agent. I hadn't heard about this, but this happened a few years back, 2015. So that was all part of this thing that got uncovered. Here's a tin can here. This comment here was very interesting to me. So the government disposed of its newfound Bitcoin via a series of auctions held by the U.S. Marshals in 2014. Venture capitalist Tim Draper, which we talked about, famously purchased 30,000 BTC for $18 million. We covered him in that one of those prior episodes. He bought it for 18 million. I think it's worth like 800 or 900 million dollars now. Here's the interesting part of it. The auctions legitimize Bitcoin by removing doubt regarding its legality. How could the government sell something that it considers illegal? So in 2014, when they're auctioning off this BTC and some of it goes to Tim Draper, people had an aha moment. They were like, wait a second. If this BTC is all fake and scam and only good for buying drugs and stuff, then why in the hell is a legitimate investor buying it via auction from the US government? They gave the BTC some actual credibility in the fact that they were actually auctioning it off. So that was kind of a turning point for BTC in 2014 and for it altogether. It goes on just to tell you that basically when Zong had gotten the BTC when he had stole it initially, and this article tells you how he did. I'm just trying to keep it as short as possible. When he stole all this, it was worth about $600,000. So it matured to 3.4 billion over the period of 10 years. So pretty solid investment.
How crazy is that? You think you stole about $500,000, but you ended up actually stealing $3.4 billion. You know what I mean? Like
over time.
Yeah.
Well,
like you think you got a little bit of extra money where you might be, easy going on your bills, but then it turns out you could buy anything that you want.
Yeah. At the time he had no idea it was going to be worth that, right?
No, a guy like Zong, he knew.
Well, and I bet if like a lot of criminals, if he thought he could have used it and not got caught, he probably maybe would have burned right through that. They typically do. But the fact that you think you might get caught because if you're transacting, you're obviously leaving breadcrumbs, which is actually how he got caught. I'm getting ready to talk about that. Here's the hole in the floor here. So the successful recovery of the Bitcoin came down to identifying the movements of the coins in question and following them to Zong, who had deposited and stole 119 BTC Bitcoin, worth somewhere in the region of $1 million. So he had moved $1 million. And in the process of that, he had left behind $1,000 worth of change in Bitcoin. That was in 2019. And this article goes into detail. He goes back and gets it or makes another transaction with that same address number in 2021. And that's what caught him. So basically $1,000 in Bitcoin is what costing him the full $3.4 billion, which he willingly gave to the feds in exchange for a lesser sentence and so forth. So this is the second interesting part that this article brought up to me that I wasn't aware of, and it makes sense. They say when you're transacting with Bitcoin, you should never use the same address or wallet more than twice. You should only use it one time because that greatly reduces the security of your Bitcoin. So if you have a wallet that has a decent amount of Bitcoin in it, whatever you deem to be a decent amount, you probably want to you don't want to transact out of that wallet more than one time, basically, because it obviously leaves a trail behind. So that was another interesting thing that I hadn't necessarily heard about before, but it makes complete sense. And as a holder of Bitcoin, I was glad to come across that little tidbit of information. So anyways, we'll link this article below. It's the story is very, very interesting and some good tips to read in there to kind of keep yourself safe with your own crypto holdings. So That's what I got on the hacker that stole $3.4 billion from the Silk Road criminal.
Yeah, that's interesting. I like it. Zong. I like that name too.
He was also, just because it's always good to bring awareness, he was also autistic. He was autistic also. And
He was artistic, so like he painted pictures and
autistic,
oh, gotcha.
like autistic, which they say is partly, they even mentioned in this article, is partly why the judge was a little bit more lenient on him. He's a new criminal. He has autism, and he was stealing from another thief. So, and he gave all his currency over too. So,
Gotcha.
read the article. It's worth a read. We'll include it below, and you can also check out some of our other videos where we covered a little bit of this also.
Cool. All right. So, we love a good meme coin. We've been gone for about the last 3 weeks, and thank goodness we were, because about the time that we left town, or that we didn't record our normal episode, they introduced a new meme coin. I think it was April 16th, so almost exactly a month ago.
Mm-hmm.
Had we been there when they released it, we would have talked about it. We would have got excited about it. Either we would have bought some or you would have bought some. We would have seen it go all the way up. And of course, like every other meme coin, actually, I've got the PP price
Chart.
right. Oh, it's called Pepe coin, like as in Pepe Le Pew. I've got it right
Which is a
here.
whole crypto theme. The
Right.
Pepe. God, I can't even say it.
So
The
here,
frog.
Pepe the frog. I've got the picture of him right here. There's Pepe the frog. You recognize him from memes. This is just like the Dogecoin memes. I believe their website says the dogs are done and it's time for every frog to have his day. So that's why they came up with the Pepe. But what we've got here, let me bring this out here. All right, so this was about exactly 1 month ago, and it was released. Got a little excitement. This is where people started to find out. And at one point, you can actually look at the market cap on these. At one point, it went from a $0 market cap to 1.65 billion dollars. Just like that. When people say that there's not much happening in the crypto industry, we keep talking about this. What was the other one? Bonk coin.
Yeah.
That there are some passive players in this game that are just waiting for projects like this. You can see since then. So this was about the week that we were gone. This is the second week we were gone. This is the third week, and here we are today. So we've just gone downhill since about the second week. It's still, I mean, if you look at where it's at now compared to where it was when it first started, it's still quite a ways up, but not, I mean, it's a third of what it was on May 5th, which was 2 weeks ago.
It'd be fun to compare that against some other coins, the bonk coins.
Yeah, I thought about that. Exactly.
Shit coin.
Yeah, you could
Doge.
see if right now, even though it's came back down, it's the third highest market cap for a meme coin right now. So even
That's
on its
crazy.
way down, but it had gone up over 7,000%. I'm trying to think of all the stuff that you needed to know. There's probably not much you need to. I'll tell you what, there's not much you need. There's not much you need to know, and I'll tell you why. Here's their PP coin. It's called Pepe, like Pepe Le Pew. I think it's called PP. I think I like that better. But here's has no association with Matt Fury or his creation, Pepe the Frog. It's just paying homage to a meme we all love and recognize. And this is why it's not that important that you know about the Pepe coin, because it's a meme coin with no intrinsic value or expectation of financial return. There's no formal team or roadmap. The coin is completely useless and for entertainment purposes only. That's on their main website saying this coin is useless. This is straight gambling. Anybody who invests or even gambles on crypto knows that this is rolling the dice.
Yeah.
And
degening.
Yeah, degening, yes. And it's probably already done. Probably its moment is gone. Who knows when the market turns around? Dogecoin had a rocket up and then came back down, but then when the market turned, it shot back up. So there's always a chance you could hear from the Pepe coin in the future. But just know there's no team, there's no roadmap, and the website says the coin is completely useless. So if you're looking for a utility, this might not be what you're looking for, but it is fun to, if you're a gambler, you could have made 7,000% from May the 4th to May the 5th. So, oh, here, yeah, from this point where it got started, anytime if you'd have bought it to here to a $1.65 billion market cap.
Yeah, and it was, what's interesting is it was making it, the hype was making its way around way before May 4th. So it's not like it shot through the roof and then people were like, then you heard about it. My point being is you very easily could have seen the hype early on and gotten on the train like it and caught that huge wave. But
so that is our fault. We'll never take another break again. I was on a boat in the Caribbean. I don't know what Ryan was doing, but it is super selfish. We could have all been rich, and I let that one slip. So won't happen again. Next meme coin, Bonk, Pepe, Dogecoin, Sheeb. We're going to be right there. We're going to ride it up and down with you.
All right, I got an update for Ethereum, who just keeps trucking along. ETH, after the Shanghai update, that flawless update, the supply continues to decrease and the APR continues to increase. And who better than Paul Barron to give us a little update? So I got a few clips here we're going to talk about, but let's have a listen.
Here happening with Ethereum right now. This coming in from Token Unlocks, showing just the current staking percentage, guys. That's right, 8.76%, up almost a little over 4% here recently. We just reported on this not too long ago, and ETH continues to fly up the charts in terms of overall staking. I'd love to get your feedback, though. Are you staking your Ethereum right now? If you are, how are you doing it? Are you using Lido? Are you using some other tool set? Give me kind of a breakdown. Drop some comments down below. Love to get your feedback on this. Let's get into a little bit about whether or not we're seeing ETH deposits and withdrawals holding. And of course, if you remember, this was the zone right there on the upgrade. We saw that withdrawal take place, which wasn't massive, but we've started to see a climb right here on deposits. So people starting to take benefit of what's happening on ETH as a whole. And just overall, just to kind of see, here's the climbing on ETH deposits and withdrawals right here. So again, good stuff for ETH. If you're a long-term ETH holder, this is going to be one of those opportunities for you to take some potential gains here for where this is going.
So you and I both hold some ETH, and 6 months ago when the Shanghai upgrade happened was the first time that you could actually, it upgraded. People were able to stake their ETH because it went from a proof of work to proof of stake. And then 6 months after that, roughly, was the first time you could withdraw your staked ETH. And we covered that in another episode. You can check it out here. They weren't sure if there was going to be a mass exodus of ETH that could cause a problem because it's a staking mechanism now, but it didn't. There was a withdrawal, but people just put it right back in. And now the APR, annual percentage rate, is averaging up above 8%. And so people are getting some very good returns. I have yet to stake my ETH because I'm kind of just I'm holding everything in a hard wallet right now because I'm scared to lose anything. But when you see this stuff, it makes me realize I've got to get in there and educate myself better, because that's one of the huge advantages of crypto is the staking, as you know, Ben. And so.
Yeah, I actually just checked Coinbase, because when they stake, usually it's smaller websites that give you the full 8% or whatever. And Coinbase, with the security, you kind of lose a little bit of that. They take more of the risk, so they give you a little bit less of the interest, or whatever you would call that. But my Ethereum right now on Coinbase is staking for 7.04% APY, which
that's on Coinbase.
That's on Coinbase. And
that's awesome.
That's not Coinbase Pro or Premium. That's got none of the boost or the premium stuff. That is basic Coinbase Ethereum is earning 7%.
That's
huge.
outstanding. Yeah, dude. That's huge. He's going to talk about a little bit of the calculation of it. So this kind of puts some real numbers to it, which is fun.
That I think is going to be here for a very long time and has such great utility. If you look at the rewards calculator, I was just looking at it, they're already calculating this at 6%. But if you got 1 ETH right there, you're talking about an annual of $106. If you had 10 ETH, there you go, $1,000 a year. And if you're going into maybe 20 ETH, you can kind of see this starts to get into some serious money for a lot of these people. So if there are big ETH positions out there, this is one of those opportunities of, instead of exiting an asset and going into things like money markets and things of that nature, this is one of those that is a risk asset, and it is highly risky, but with these kind of rewards, we could see some pretty cool stuff.
So, I mean, that was at 6%. That was just the Lido calculator. If you remember, we talked about the Lido protocol and the Rocket. I can't think of it, the name of it, but it was Rocket something, where you could stake your ETH outside of Coinbase. But some really sizable returns there. If you're in it for the long haul, like I am, I'm buying ETH. I use it a little bit to buy stuff, but mostly I'm just holding it because I believe it's going to be worth more and more, and it's going to be harder and harder to get to because the supply is going down. And Paul Barron's going to talk a little bit in this next clip, but that's exciting stuff, especially like you're saying, you're on Coinbase, which is arguably the most secure exchange there is, and you're getting 7% on it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I didn't even realize it was that, because I had the Coinbase one for a while, so it ups your APY a little bit. But last time I checked, it was at just under 4%. So now it's over 7% without the premium.
Yeah. All right. Here's a little bit of the supply. Listen to this, because this is pretty cool.
Kind of things. Another thing here, exchange supply is going to hit historic lows. This also could be another factor that we could see ETH starting to do some interesting things in terms of value. ETH supply on exchanges now at its lowest since cryptocurrency started trading publicly in July of 2015. That's pretty, I think that's attributing to a lot of people doing self-custody and people going into the staking pools where they're really getting some amazing returns. Why would you need it on exchange? Because you're most likely not going to be selling it. So
the ETH supply is the lowest it's been on exchanges since 2015. So we're in a bear market. 8 years ago was the lowest the supply had ever been on exchanges. So that means people are keeping it in their wallets, or they're staking it like you are, and they are not transacting with it. They're not keeping it on exchanges, which is a smart idea to keep it protected. But people are not selling it. Like, they are holding it, kind of like Bitcoin. I think I saw just the other day, 67% of Bitcoin supply has not moved in the last 12 months out of wallets, 67%. So we're in this terrible bear market with all this craziness, and people are holding on. They are not dumping cryptocurrency, at least not the high end ones like ETH and Bitcoin or whatever. So as we know, if they're not selling and they're not utilizing it, that's decreasing supply, which is just increasing the value. And we're seeing it in the APR also. So some big news with ETH, especially over the last month or so, where ETH has kind of been a bit rocky. It's not been performing as well as it had like the previous month, but just more evidence that it looks like it could be a solid investment for the future. So that's what I got on ETH supply and staking.
Yeah, that's awesome. I do have some ETH in Coinbase, and I have some in MetaMask that isn't earning any, but it makes you want to throw a little bit. It's always, I should just be doing it all the time anyway, but when you hear good news like that and everybody else decides to throw in there and the price goes up, I'm a sucker. I'm a sucker for trends, and I'm like, I think I will buy a little bit more Ethereum.
The staking is so powerful. Like we just restaked our NXTT with massive returns. We restaked for over 2 years.
Yeah. For 105%. Yeah.
Yeah. For 105%. So, I'll shut up, but staking by far is in my opinion, is one of the biggest advantages of cryptocurrency. It's one of the most exciting things about it.
there are very few stable companies that have a dividend payment in the real world. In traditional finance, there are very few traditional good companies that have a dividend payment over 5%. So when you're earning 7% on something like Ethereum, which would be the new finance, the blockchain equivalent of a Pepsi or of, something that is going to be around for a while,
Right.
is at 7%. I mean, it's almost pulling people away. I would assume it would pull people away, or at least some of the money, divert some of the finances from traditional finance over there, because Ethereum
100%.
and
Yeah.
Bitcoin are, like you said, are pretty stable. And if you can be getting a 7% return by just holding on to one of them.
And a lot of those, and let me say this too, verify for yourself, but a lot of those, I don't know, I'm going to use your Coinbase, but Coinbase, Lido, whatever, double check, but they are paying out those daily. So it's not like months go by before you get
Right.
that money and then it's reinvested. You're getting those dividends daily on a lot of these projects, or somewhere near that. So
Let's see.
it just compounds more and more.
May 8th. Mine looks like every 3 days, every 2 days. Yeah, looks like every couple of days, it seems like, is the Ethereum. Some of them are, depending on the protocol, are a little bit more time in between, but some of them are every day. But it looks like my Ethereum reward, I'm getting about, whoa, that's pretty good. Every couple of days. That's, anyways. Yes, you're right. We'll move on from that. That's awesome. Ethereum, we're going to be talking about that more in the next couple of weeks, I'm sure, especially as we're in the down market and you're looking for something to be positive about. Ethereum seems to be that. So, what we're going to talk about right now is,
let's get some gaming. What's up on the gaming, Ben?
boom. Ubisoft is getting in with smart collectibles. What they're doing is you're able to play the game, and depending on your score, how you do, your levels that you achieve, you get this NFT. The NFT adds up, allows you to customize an actual, like a physical collectible that will then be 3D printed and actually sent to you. So they look like this little dude right here, and each one of them comes with an NFC chip. So you're able to scan it with your phone. It'll give you your information, the owner's information, and then all of the, the rare traits that your NFT real world collectible has. So it's the best of both worlds. You get something to put on your shelf. You also get the digital collectible on, that you can keep in your wallet. Anybody who scans that, or if it ever gets stolen, it shows who actually owns it. Unless you transfer it via your digital wallet, it will always show you as the owner. And I think they look pretty sweet. I mean, I'm an Assassin's Creed guy. I was never big on the game. I'm more of a first-person shooter than a open world run around, but I really like it. And I love the artwork and I love the guy. So it's very cool, especially seeing Ubisoft, who's a big player in this, doing something like this, not just getting into NFTs, but taking it one step farther and going with an NFT protected real world collectible.
Yeah. Another big name coming into the Web3 world.
Yeah. And I think they've done a couple of things with it, but, with NFTs and stuff like this, but this is just an even further step into it. And, like I said, I mean, they're not just in it now, that they're, I don't want to say, not leading the way, but they're taking a step that some places haven't even gone. And like, actually, that's a pretty good idea. Ubisoft went from following the trends to now making some trends, which is really cool when these companies start to realize, okay, well, with this technology, what can we do that's different? What can we do that's even above and beyond and better than what everybody else is doing? And that's when you're going to really see some really neat things. Next time the market starts to run up, the amount of intelligence, the amount of people that are working on this stuff, the amount of stuff that everybody knows this technology is capable of, we're going to see some really awesome things.
Yeah, it's going to be an explosion for sure.
And that's it for this week. This will pop up on Friday, and then we'll be back next week with a handful of more stories in the crypto and Web3 industry.
Yeah.
Is it an industry? Is it what do we call it?
A revolution.
Yes, the movement, the crypto and Web3 movement. Shout out to Zhang.
All right. Good stuff. See you next week.
All right, see you.